Claire Obscure Expedition 33 success has proven gamers right that we do want new franchises and high quality content, but that companies don't have to put hundreds of millions of dollars into a single product for it potentially to find success. And now Square Enix is acknowledging this game's success and is hinting at a Final Fantasy turn-based RPG revival, but do we trust them? I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, let's be honest, Square Enix is a big company that, yes, does still put out turn-based games, but the problem that they faced for years is that they started moving away from turn-based with their mainline Final Fantasy games, and that infuriated a lot of people. And I will be the first to say, I liked Final Fantasy 16. I thought that it was a fantastic story. The performances were really good. The combat was super cinematic and action-packed. I did really enjoy it, but that game would have done significantly better if it was a bit smaller in scale and it was a side game, a spin-off game, because it wasn't what really made Final Fantasy successful in the first place. I'm a believer that Final Fantasy, the mainline games, should have stayed turn-based and they would have still found success because people love the games that way. I think that they struggled, though, with trying to chase a new modern audience and reviving their franchise, but they did it in a really bad way. But Claire Obscure has done phenomenally. It shows that gamers do want new high-quality content. They're willing to purchase new franchises that look like they're going to be really good. And also, we're interested in turn-based still. Now, the real question is, can Square Enix go back to based? And I'm not just talking turn-based. Square Enix as a company has lost their way a lot over the years. They've censored a lot of their content. They've moved away in terms of mainline Final Fantasy from what made the franchise successful in the first place. They have an internal ethics department that tones down and censors their content. Can they truly go back to the way they were? I don't know, but a lot of people are hoping so, especially after their latest statement. So in a surprising but welcome move, Square Enix has acknowledged the breakout success of Claire Obscure Expedition 33 and reaffirmed its commitment to delivering more turn-based RPGs in the future. Now, this does not mean that they are sitting here promising that the next mainline Final Fantasy game is definitely going to be turn-based and they're actually going to listen to us, but Square Enix has lost a lot of money over the past couple of years on different games like Forspoken, for example. Final Fantasy 16 only did okay for them. We, of course, have a lot of like the remakes and remasters and reboots that they're doing, which have found success, but there's only so many games from their back catalog that they can do that with and kind of milk, and they need to start going back to making new content. It says, though, many are hopeful that this could lead to a turn-based combat return for the Final Fantasy series. The comments came during the company's recent shareholders meeting, where the indie hit was directly credited with influencing Square Enix's thinking. Now, not even that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, we heard analysts saying that Square Enix was probably kicking themselves seeing the success of the realistic turn-based JRPG inspired game Claire Obscure Expedition 33 after being reticent to do it with the Final Fantasy series. And yes, I do genuinely believe that they had been doing this for so long that they got too comfortable with it and they felt like, oh, we need to modernize. And then as soon as they modernize, turn-based games do extremely fucking well. Look at all of the, again, remakes and reboots we've seen. Look at Baldur's Gate. Look at something like Claire Obscure. And I'm not somebody who believes that like turn-based was ever dead, because it certainly wasn't, but it's definitely getting much more of a spotlight now than it was even like a decade ago, which I think is really cool to see. But Claire Obscure did everything, in my opinion, perfectly. Honestly, for me right now, it is a game of the decade contender. I also think that Elden Ring is a game of the decade contender, but Claire Obscure is up there. We still have a lot of large launches that in theory should be releasing this year, like Elder Scrolls 6, GTA 6, but I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself, you know? Those are still not even fully announced. I mean, we're supposed to be getting GTA 6 next year, but let's not get too excited until they've actually said this is definitely the date and we start seeing like gameplay. It says, though, that according to multiple attendees, a shareholder urged the developer to consider returning both the Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest franchises to their turn-based roots. As part of their reasoning, the investor cited the extraordinary popularity and acclaim of Cleric's Obscure Expedition 33, developed by Sandfall Interactive. We are aware of Expedition 33 and believe that command-based RPGs are the origin of Square Enix, the developer said. We value the genre of command-based RPGs and plan to continue delivering such games in the future. And again, lots of remakes, reboots, remasters. Dragon Quest they've been doing, Final Fantasy they've been doing, but we want mainline Final Fantasy this way again, at least I would say. I loved 16. I thought it was really good, but if it was a spin-off game, would have done way better. This acknowledgement has sparked major speculation across the gaming world. Could this signal a true return to form for the company, once known for their genre-defining titles? Claire Obscure Expedition 33 has been a sensation, selling 3.3 million units in just 33 days. The game has outperformed many AAA titles, both commercially and critically, with a Metacritic user score that ranks amongst the highest of all time, even surpassing The Witcher 3, Super Mario Galaxy, and Ocarina of Time. The indie RPG has reignited the conversation about turn-based mechanics in modern gaming. I absolutely love this game. I thought that it was phenomenal. I'm so happy to see that Sandfall went out of their way, created an amazing experience, and I want every game to thrive. I always say this, even if a company has lost their way in the past, I do believe to a certain extent that every company could at least try to redeem themselves. There are some that, right, like it would be very hard to trust, such as, I don't know, Ubisoft, but technically they have franchises, they have characters and stories that people would love to see again and again and again, but they've lost their way because they've pushed old developers out of the industry. They've hired juniors who are primarily activists who don't know how to write rich and compelling stories and create these compelling worlds and high quality worlds. And it is sad that we've gotten so far from what made so many of these franchises extremely successful. And in the case of Square Enix, a big problem is modernity and chasing a global audience. That's why they have things like internal ethics departments that look over developers' shoulders and tell them to censor. It's basically a built-in sweet baby ink. And I think that with a total company reboot, maybe they could actually get back to the good old days. And we know that Square Enix is going through a lot of inner turmoil right now. I had actually talked about this in another video, but Square Enix had only just recently revealed their plans to reboot the company over the next few years. And will this actually turn out to be a massive reboot? Who knows? It could just be all talk. You can't trust a company like this until you have actually seen the new content that they're putting out and seeing what they're truly doing to reboot a company. So ask me again in 3 years how I feel about Square Enix, but hearing them acknowledge the success of a game like Claire Obscure Expedition 33, yeah, sure does give me a little bit more hope, but at this point they've lost a lot of my trust and I know a lot of other people's trust, so I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe this will turn out to be fantastic. They're not completely saying that Final Fantasy is definitely going back to turn-based, but it sounds like they see Expedition 33 success and are mulling over their plans in the future while keeping this game in mind. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.